Hey everyone, it's Kale from Scud Style, and I have part 3 today of NoFap Literature. Bang! Modern Biological Theory and Experiments on Celibacy, Brahmacharya under a Microscope. So, this is a very Western text. This is very applicable. It's modern, right? So it's going to be full of stuff that we can really use in today's world to make changes or to make shifts if we want to apply them for this type of thing. So, without further ado, let's get going. It's by Jatin Shankar. I hope I pronounced that right. If not, my bad. All right, let's go. This is published in 2016. I've had it for almost 2 years now. And it's not that long. It's about, here's the back. It's about 100 pages long, but it's full of scientific studies, graphs, charts, cool things. So, part 1, overview of some experiments, the connection between reproduction and lifespan. There's a graph about the qualitative relationship between fecundity and lifespan. Lifespan versus reproductive pattern in rotifers. All about eunuchs. There's a study done on eunuchs and those who are unable to have sex or any kind of sexual expenditure, and how that affects their health and how that affects their lifespan. And it's really interesting findings. Surprise, they live longer, and they're healthier, and they can grow back hair and things like that. So it really is a cool parallel for something like retention, and I've done a lot of videos on retention. I did one on retention in the eyes. In my experience, anecdotally, I was able to get rid of an eye prescription and improve my eyesight through just 60 days of retention. So imagine, not being able for a long time, right? And the cool effects, things like that. The effect of castration on other organisms, the cost of reproduction for both males and females, studies with Japanese macaques, studies with adders, snakes, the aging man, aging on the brain and the body, a couple different theories of aging. And it goes into both of those. One for, you get older, you're gonna age no matter what. And one, it's kind of like, you get older and you age because of the stress that you're exposing yourself to and how your body's not regenerating well enough because it's sick, because you're expending energy more than you're able to recover from it. So, population survival pattern in an aging and non-aging population, relationship between lifespan and fecundity of organism under various resource constraints, clarifications about Brahmacharya, and then a little bit more philosophical stuff, like if everyone practices Brahmacharya of celibacy, how will our species advance? I guess we'll cross that bridge if we ever get to it, guys. And is there anything more exciting than sex? I know there's actually a lot of people, it seems kind of like an interesting topic or not super relevant, but there's a lot of people that I work with who almost have this self-defeating program in their space, in kind of their outlook on life, in kind of how they kind of relate to the world, in that they don't want to give up the novelty and ultimate pleasure of sex or anything like that. And so this kind of really addresses that. If you're someone who thinks that way, this is a really cool chapter in there. And then a little thing on happiness. So let's get into it. I'll show you a little bit of stuff here. Not too much. Don't want to give away the whole thing, This author did a great amount of work. So if you like this, guys, buy the book. Support the author. And I'll leave a link below, and I'll get a tiny commission on it through Amazon. It's like a couple %. But I appreciate it, and I think this is a cool book, or you can get it wherever else you can find it, but I've never seen it anywhere besides Amazon, personally. Qualitative relationship between fecundity and lifespan. And we see that this lighter gray, there we go, now you can see, the lighter gray is the fecundity, or fertility, right? And then this darker one is lifespan. And we can see as needs are met initially, that's good for lifespan. But if we're kind of overfed and we are overnourished, what it does is it increases the drive to reproduce and pass on that prosperity, right? And that's not always a good thing, because if we have the drive to reproduce and we end up just squandering that without actually reproducing, it's different. So, lifespan and reproductive pattern in rotifers. And, and then surrounding it, obviously, is a text all about the study, right? Here's the eunuch section. Really cool opportunity for a study, right? Because they, after all, castration is but a way to lower the fecundity. So therefore, there should be an increase in the lifespan of the organism following castration. And there is, as we shall see shortly. And then it goes into all of that. Not suggested that anyone, castrates themselves in an effort to retain their essence or anything like that. And he does this disclaimer in here too. But we have an interesting opportunity because there was this large group of eunuchs that they were able to study, and found some cool findings. And there was a castrated group and an intact group of patients in a mental hospital, and the number of survivors per 100 subjects, the castrated males are this dark gray up here, and the lighter gray is the intact males. And notice how half of the castrated male population in the experiment survived till the age of 70, whereas the intact population got halved at about 55 years of age. Notice that. It's noticeable, right? The eunuchs from Korea, eunuchs that grew back lost hair. Anyone who's doing retention or not totally going overboard with sexual expenditure because they want lustrous hair, or they're losing their hair and they want it back. Proof, science, stuff, right? The effect of castration on other organisms, the cost of reproduction for males, the cost of reproduction for females. We have a section on that. A section studying the ejaculates from Japanese macaques and from adders during mating season. Adders are pretty rad snakes. The cost of reproduction for female, here it is. Right? Obviously, males and females have a very different sexual reproductive system, and they have a very different role in reproduction. Males do all the stuff up front, and females have like a longer thing. So there's a section about reproductive costs for females, including during gestation, birth, and then afterwards, lactation, things like that. Effects of aging on the brain, on the rest of the body, decrease in immunity and ability to fight diseases, decrease in the ability to repair and maintain the body, decrease in physical strength and muscle mass, loss of organic function, loss of sight, hearing, physical degradation like wrinkling of skin, baldness, graying of hairs, loss of teeth, etc. But then, and I just want you to notice, tons of works cited because there's tons of science in here. The grand theory of celibacy, and then we go into the theories of aging, which is what I was getting to. The program theory of aging says that life has evolved in such a way that organisms are programmed to die on their own after they reached a species-specific age, right? Whereas the non-programmed theory of aging is non-programmed theory of aging says that the body ages simply because of its inability to repair and maintain itself. The idea is that the body constantly experiences cellular damages caused by radiation and chemical, microbial, and mechanical stress. Basically, so the non-programmed theory of aging says we don't necessarily have to age as we get older. Our body doesn't have to break down, but if we're exposing ourselves to more stress, more environmental factors, more depletion of sexual energy, more things like that, right? Bad food, unclean air, unclean water, lots of mental stress. If we do all the kinds of that and our body can't repair itself as quickly as it's being damaged, then we age. So that's really interesting, and that's kind of as we study or we retain or do these kinds of things, our body is able to repair faster than it is being broken down by stress or all these kinds of things. And if we work to eliminate those stressors and we work to environmental, physical, the things that we eat, the people we surround ourselves with, all that kind of stuff, and we're able to also retain and not waste the things that are able to help us repair, then we don't age, right? Or we don't age as quickly. Either way, so it goes into both of these theories of aging, and we can kind of take a bunch of things from that. There's all kinds of good stuff in this book, all kinds of more science, and tons of scientific theory, and then it goes into breaking the silence on brahmacharya, the scientific theory of brahmacharya, all this kind of stuff. And then we have a philosophical section at the end where it talks about those questions I was talking about, which is if everyone practices brahmacharya or celibacy, how our species advance? Is there anything more exciting than sex? A lot of people actually have a mental issue with that. They are afraid to give up sex because they think it's like the ultimate pleasure. This is a really great section for those people. Hint, it isn't. And on happiness, right, which is great and wraps it all together. So guys, I really recommend this book. I think it's really cool. I'll leave a link below if you're interested. And thanks so much for watching and supporting, and best of luck.